In this unit, we begin to explore Hebrew verbs. And with the introduction of Hebrew verbs, an entire new world is open to us. This will enable you to really decode full sentences. Before this course is over, we'll also introduce adjectives, and at that point, you will have all of the basic parts of speech. So the introduction to Hebrew verbs here is going to be somewhat complicated, but let me explain the purpose of this particular screencast. We're going to be covering one verb form in this course. And what the purpose of the screencast is to set the broader context so that you understand where the verb form that we're learning now falls into the larger system. I'm not expecting you, and I hope that you don't expect yourself, to master everything that I'm presenting in this screencast. This is really an overview. Okay, so we're going to be talking primarily about three different things: Hebrew roots, prefixes, suffixes, and vowels, and something called binyanim, which we will get to in a moment. So, Hebrew roots. And just a little visual here. So, as we get into the Hebrew roots, we're really beginning to kind of move things up, beginning on a journey, and most of the rest of the time that you are learning Hebrew throughout your lives will probably be focused on developing proficiency with Hebrew roots and the verbs. So the first thing is to think in threes. Every Hebrew word comes down to a three-letter root. So here you can see Kuf, Dalid, Shin. These three letters, these three consonants, make up a basic Hebrew root. And the Hebrew word for root is a shoresh. So I can say that the shoresh of this particular cluster is Kuf, Dalid, Shin. Once we have the three-letter root, Hebrew will then begin to create different kinds of verb forms, even nouns and adjectives, based on a particular root. So if you know, or once you know, that this particular root, Kuf, Dalid, Shin, has to do with the concept of holiness, then you'll be able to recognize many different words without memorizing all the specific vocabulary words, just by recognizing the root. And so I want to show you how this plays out in this one particular example. So here at the top, we have kadash, and you'll notice that there's a kamatz and a patach. This is the verb form that we've been using thus far. So this is the past tense. For reasons that I won't get into right now, this is translated as he is holy. But when we make a few changes to the shoresh, meaning we have now put in a chirik under the kuf instead of the kamatz, we have put a dagesh, the dot, in the dalid, and a tzere in place of the patach. Once we have put it into this form, kidesh, this word now means he sanctified. So you can see how the meaning of the two words is connected. He is holy and he sanctified. He is holy is more of a stative verb. It almost reads as an adjective. Kidesh is he sanctified, is an active verb. Now we can add yet a new set of variations, and in this one we have yikadesh. So yikadesh, now we have added the prefix yud. You can see a different vowel pattern. And in this case, we have put a dagesh in the first letter of the root, in the kuf, as opposed to the middle letter, the daled. This form then translates as it will be sanctified, or he will be sanctified. So yikadesh. Again, you can see how all of these are connected, and yet by changing the vowel patterns, by putting in a prefix or putting a dagesh into one of the letters, we're modifying the sense of the word. And then we can also make nouns and adjectives. So at the bottom, here we have our shoresh, kuf daled shin, and here we have added the prefix mem. So quite often, not all the time, but quite often, when we put a mem before a particular shoresh, it makes a noun. So in this case, mikdash means tabernacle or sanctuary. And then finally, over on the right side, kadosh, again, a different vowel pattern, becomes an adjective meaning holy. So if you were to have a sense of the basic root as having something to do with holiness, then basically what we are going to be doing as we continue our learning is then getting to know what these different patterns do to a root. And it'll mean paying attention to the vowels that are associated with the shoresh, with the Hebrew root, paying attention to prefixes and suffixes. All right, then the other concept that we want to introduce, and again, we're not going to cover all of the details. This is not anything that you need to memorize or master in any way. This is simply context. In Hebrew, we have a set of binyanim, or what's called in English verb patterns. And there are 7 primary verb patterns in Hebrew. The kal is the basic binyan. This course and the next level course remain pretty much in the world of the kal. Below the nifal tends to make the kal verbs into passives. Then the pl, again, you can take the same shoresh, the same Hebrew root that you would use in a kal, and by changing the vowel pattern and putting a dagesh in the right place, then we create a pl. PL often intensifies the sense of the ka'al. So a classic example is if I say shavar, which is kal, shavar means he broke. If I change the vowel pattern and I make it into shiber, so we're still dealing with shin, bet, resh, but shiber means he shattered. So the difference between he broke and he shattered. Then the pual is simply the passive of the pl. And then our next cluster, the hefil, with the passive hofal. Hefil often tends to be causative. So if I say shama, he heard from the kal, and then I place it into a hefil pattern, which would be hishmiya, that would mean to cause to hear, which might be to announce or inform. Again, the hofal is simply its passive form. And then finally, the hitpa'el, and the hitpa'el is often reflexive. So to describe doing something to one's self, or reciprocal, something back and forth. So you may be familiar with the verb katav. he wrote. If we put it into the hitpa'el, hitkatev, it indicates then writing back and forth, like with a pen pal. Again, this is just to provide a context for what we are going to be learning in the Kal Binyan. All right. We have seen this pattern, shamar, as I've introduced some vocabulary words. The verbs, you'll notice, have the kamatz and the patach. And this particular form, when you have the shoresh and you put these vowels under it, indicates that the pattern or the binyan is a kal, the basic form, that the conjugation is the past tense, or as we will get to in the next level course, a more accurate term is the perfect, but you can think about this as past and that will work. The person is here third person, shamar, he guarded, not you guarded, not I guarded, but third person. The gender here is masculine, he guarded, and the number is singular, not they guarded, that would look different, just he guarded. So there's a term called parsing a verb, and parsing a verb simply means looking at a particular verb and then identifying the pattern, the conjugation, the person, the gender, and the number. And while this may feel overwhelming at first, the identifying person, gender, number will become really very, very easy because you'll get to know the forms, and then they stay pretty consistent with all the different binyanim. Okay, so the form that we are going to be learning in this unit is part of the Kal Binyan, the basic binyan. The conjugation is going to be the participle, which for all intents and purposes right now we can think about as the present tense. We will learn that there is no person. So this will work with I, you, he, she, they. But there is masculine and feminine, and the forms are either singular or plural. So in our next screencast, we will dive into this particular form.